still in 6th, 18 seconds off the lead. The inaugural champion had some struggles in the first sector and in the middle sector as well.
Indeed he did that there as we go into turn 1. Jenny trying his best, looking to the inside, takes a lot tighter of a line there than Houston does, not even using the curb on the exit there. Now he's going to try and just get it into turn 3, sitting right there. I wonder if he's starting to get a little bit frustrated. We know he's faster than Houston.
What if this is the cause of the championship? We've seen that happen in NASCAR and F1 and IndyCar, any discipline of motor racing, that you have a slip up. You have one bad race where it doesn't go your way and the whole season derails.
Yeah, it's going to be super, he's trying his best to hold on to the point sweep, but not quite. And he might have made some contact off of the Casino hairpin there, coming down the Casino straight right now. Super, very tight and scary and all that stuff.
Houston's got damage on the back of his car. I don't know if that was registered when Janny drove into him. That was, because it looks like he's got damage as well. Janny over the second curve in the Wall of Champions. Very aggressive. And now he's going to try and slipstream down the front straightaway and get onto the podium.
Yes, he is.
Make it happen. Challenger's going to run into some lap traffic. First, Josiah Wellwood in the 41 in the BMW. And then, way up the road, is Marwan Moftaw. Moftaw's actually on the back straightaway, so ignore me on that. He is on pace with the field. Janny still desperate to get by Houston, and he's just not sending it. I mean, no, I could see why he's not. Houston wide and brake checks him, it looks like.
These guys not going to be happy with each other. Maybe some words after the race. I mean, this is some of the hard-fought racing. Jersey Janny showing his frustration, blinking and blinking and blinking. Not able to get anything done, though.
Janny off of the chicane, off of turn 9, down to turn 10. Will he take the fight once again to Houston? Peeks to the outside now of car number 4 into turn number 10. He's going to run it way wide to do exactly that, make Houston run wide and get the better run off the corner. He's going to get the slipstream here, Mike, down the straightaway and potentially make the move into the Wall of Champions.
Yeah, there he goes. He's not going to be able to quite hold on to it, though. I believe that, that was a really shaky move. There's the open to the outside. Oh, big serpentine trying to make any draft not work. At this point, I think Janny's got to be super close there at this point. I mean, God, I would be absolutely fuming right now. I'd be almost at the point of using the bumper, but I know he's a respectful driver. He's a respected man, and I know he will not, take the low road there.
Just to give you an update, blue flags were shown to Wellwood. Wellwood moved out of the way for our race leader, Christian Challoner, and Josh Klog, 3.5. The gap hasn't changed, so, I mean, they're equal on lap time. Equal on lap time for the most part, 4/10 up that last lap. Houston finally gets passed by Janny, and Janny checks him out wide for good measure.
Wow, look at that move he made right there, folks. That is a textbook move.
Textbook dive bomb.
Yeah, textbook dive bomb. Janny angry.
Houston gets the draft down the backstretch.
Hey, don't count Houston out here.
He nudges him, and Houston around.
Oh. There's the next car back there. That's Matt Kingsbury. There he comes through. He's got to be careful. Ooh, thank God he got it off the track. Now he's got to watch for Ray.
He'll get by.
Ray's not going to be able to get by though, but he's definitely got some yeah.
Clobbered the curb in turn 8, and these cars very upset when you clip the curbs the wrong way. And as a result, Christian Challoner still leads. Klog's still second. Michael Janny sits in third now on the podium. And Matt Kingsbury, after spinning, he leads in the AM class by a huge margin over Brandon Lambert, not only position-wise, but if we look at the positions, he is 16.5 behind Challoner, but if we look down at Lambert and do some quick math, that's 14 seconds from Kingsbury to Lambert. Kingsbury going into turn 1, Lambert coming through the final chicane.
There it is, yeah. Let's talk for a second. Klog and Janny. Janny's closing in. Will Clog fight him, or will he just let him get ahead and take that position? He needs every point he can get. He can tie the points up. Points back, thankfully. He's basically playing damage control at this point. He's got a lap card there of Mr. Wellwood. 41 BMW, that matte black car. Very nice. Matte blue car. Surprisingly nice for something so basic. Because now you head him into Casino Hairpin.
We should see the blue flags for the 41 in P18. He will stay out of the way of Janny, but it definitely did compromise Janny's corner in turn 10. Last lap, 37-1, 37-2 for Clog. It was Janny, then Clog, I should say. To put it into perspective, Challenger, 36-5. So the gap is now about 4 seconds from Challenger to Clog. But there is damage. There's damage on Clog on the left rear, and there's damage on Janny on the front due to both having incidents with Peter Houston. But the one car that's clean is the car that's out front, and it's the car that Janny does not want to see out front. Mike, it's Christian Challenger out front.
Indeed, there's no Christian right there. I mean, we can probably take this time and actually go through a little bit through the field. Christian Challenger, obviously, our current points leader now.
On a countback because Ragster got penalized in turn 1 for an accident. That was a whole ordeal. That was a good time. Moss still holds off Busch in the Lamborghini. As Larill, off camera, he had spun in turn 1. I was going to mention it, but he was by himself, so it doesn't necessarily matter, unfortunately. That car torn up, given the circumstances, on lap 1. A lot like in the same corner that Lance Stroll had his accident with Brendan Hartley in 2018 in the Canadian Grand Prix.
There's now
got really loose in the
I think we're trying to take the white flag here. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Yeah, Christian Challenger is going to take this white flag. There's a minute and 20 seconds left. Flagman to wave it. Yeah. Barney's taking a vacate. Barney, I mean, we talked about there's no restrictions for coronavirus, but like, obviously he's maybe he didn't get the memo. We don't even have his French-Canadian cousin here to help us out. You know, Bonnie Dupree. But you know, so we take the white flag. There's that Josh Clark. Yes, that is Josh Clark.
6 seconds. We are on the white flag. 6 seconds for Challenger to maintain this lead over Clog. It's going to be a 2-3 for Fiercely Forward, but it's not the podium spot that they wanted. And Janny, what could have been if Houston got dispatched earlier on, but what a battle, what a defense that Houston put up in the BMW. As Christian Challenger trying to make another victory as Lambert spins it in the McLaren. So we know that he was having some struggles, and it certainly won't help him through the Casino Hairpin, down the back straightaway for the final time for Christian Challenger of Great Britain in the Audi, trying to win once again in the Penguin RC Simulation Sports Car Challenge. Unbelievably, it's going to be 4 wins this season for the Briton. He won in Sebring, Watkins Glen, Summit Point, and in Montreal. Challenger to the top of the pylon in Montreal, winning ahead of Clog and Janny. What could have been for the Fiercely Forward boys, but if it's any consolation, Spark Fiercely Forward LLM Constructors Champions this season. As Matt Kingsbury, through the adversity of what he had to deal with, starting from the pole position, will win in the AM category, 4th overall for the man from Connecticut, so great run for him. Houston in 5th. 6th will be Ray Kingsbury. 7th, Schofield. Looks like 8th will be Rawls. 9th, Fanning. 10th will be Brokaw. As we look at Lane and Sohn, this is for 15th here, guys, but they are battling like it's for the World Championship. Sohn on the outside of Lane into the final chicane. Deep on the brakes was Sohn in the Ferrari against the other Ferrari. Final couple of corners, final straightaway. I don't think he'll be able to maintain it as we look at Moftah sneaking into the picture, but Lane, Sohn, Moftah, 15th, 16th, and 17th.
Bad. And now as we wrap the racing part of this up, we're going to try and get our race winners into the booth. So we're going to get...
And fun fact, actually, while we pull up our interviews, this is Matt Kingsbury's first win in the Sports Card Challenge, as he obviously won today. So... if there's one thing I know about Florida, even when the lights go, or the sun goes down and the lights come up, it is still beautiful outside as we will edge towards the darkness in the penultimate round of the Penguin RC Simulation NASA Sports Car Challenge presented by Nitro Circus. It's the Grand Prix of Miami here at the Homestead Miami Speedway here in Homestead, Florida. As it's Josh Mertz bringing you the call from Nitro Circus Twitch, powered by the Automotive Sports Network. I'm supposed to have Mike Berry with me. He has not appeared yet. We have Charlie Daniels in Twitch land, Victor Vallee in the production truck, so you'll have to hear my wonderful voice as we get ready to grid. I'm going to get a little bit longer time to mention a couple of our sponsors, given the fact we have a full pace lap here in Homestead. We're going to go through the Drivers' Championship presented by Penguin RC. After 6 rounds, the titanic battle between Christian Challoner and Michael Janney, 5 points. It came to a head in Montreal. Challoner snuck the points lead away. Clog, 82 back. Kingsbury, 97 back. And Peter Houston, 111 back. David Busch, Fanning, Munoz, Schofield, Rawls, the top 10. Spark Virtual Racing has clinched the Constructors' Championship with an incredible season. They are 215 points ahead of Matco Tools, followed by MPR Spark. The team standings presented by KES Industries, Keep 'em Spinning Industries, Adaptive Controls for Sim Racing. You can check them out, KESindustries.com. Shout out to Mario Bonfante Jr. for all of his support. The AM class standings also going down to the wire. David Busch III, 7 points ahead of Kevin Fanning. Rawls and Forrest battling for third. Brokaw and Sohn all in their own little battle here, as you can notice, down the top 10. 17 cars getting ready to take part at this 2.21 mile, 9-turn road course. This specific layout utilizes the front straightaway and the back straightaway of the Homestead Miami Speedway. None of the banking, so we are certainly in for a great show. How are you, Charlie Daniels?
I am doing just fine on this wonderful solstice evening, Josh. Thanks for asking. We're looking forward to some good racing tonight.
As we get ready for the sprint race, our format, 15 minutes, top 8 get inverted. Then we have a 45-minute feature race. Christian Challoner on the front row alongside Michael Janney, the championship protagonists. 0.3 of a second was the gap between Challoner and Janney. Josh Clog in third. Matt Kingsbury transfers to the new Porsche for the new build, and David Busch III in the Lamborghini. A couple of hot spots on this track. There's a hairpin after, I want to call it turn 3. It's kind of banked. That camber is going to be catching people out. And also the transition on the final corner as we get back to the oval, as we take a look there just for a split second. The transition back to the oval is tough on these GT3 cars right there. You hit the banking and it's almost like hitting a brick wall. So we will see throughout the race this evening. As our broadcast brought to you by SimRacer Coin, the cryptocurrency made by sim racers for sim racers, and our 17 sim racers will race to own the winner's coin tonight. You can view their platform, mission, and vision at simracercoin.org. Challoner and Janney lead us down for the green flag for the sprint race in Miami. Single file from the top 3 down into turn number 1. Clog look to the outside, can't get it done too far away. Challoner leads Janney, Clog, Kingsbury, Busch, and Schofield battling in the Lamborghinis 1 car around. It's Peter Houston in the 4. And the man who had such a great race last week in Montreal is in the fence. And I think he might have self-spun all by himself. He had some issues there, and I think that's why he took a second to get back going. I think he was resetting some controls in that BMW. As I say that, he has parked the car, sent it to the pit lane. Single file through the middle sector, onto the back straightaway here in just a moment. This infield section, very technical and tricky. And it's so hard to determine what car setup you want to do, whether you want to trim it out for these straightaways or deal with the road course. If we ran the banking in 3 and 4, I'd say trim it out for the straightaways, as that's basically one long extension of the straightaway, but we don't. We're going to dip down here into this little infield section very fast, and then it winds up to this corner, penultimate corner here, left-hander into the right-hander, little quick chicane and back on. We'll notice this transition, brick wall, like, wow, huge hit. Surprisingly, no suspension damage for anybody so far. Matt Kingsbury battles Busch. Looks like Kingsbury ran it wide in the final corner, as Challenger leads at the end of the first lap. We've got battles with David Busch and Josh Clogg. As David Busch, the AM Class driver, currently leading the AM Class race, even after one lap, in front of Matt Kingsbury. Looks like Matt Kingsbury's got some damage on the right front of that Porsche. So maybe this transition is actually harder than we thought. Schofield, Kingsbury, Fanning, Lambert, and Rawls, the rest of the top 10. Peter Houston has disconnected from the session. We're going to take a look at Kingsbury here in the 21. Let's see what happened for the man from Connecticut. Onto the curb. He hit Clogg and then hit the transition. So a couple of bits there that has caused that incident. And Challenger pulling away from Gianni, 1.3 seconds now between the Briton and the American, as we noticed a little twitch from the 113 going down into the infield. And David Busch, we're going to look at this lap time here, 1/10 slower than Clogg that last lap. And as they come off the final corner, the Porsche, Kingsbury gets a huge run as we take a look at the Porsche versus the Lamborghini down the front straightaway. 1 minute 21.5 for Clogg, 21.8 for Busch. Kingsbury sends it in the inside and takes the spot from the Lamborghini. Challenger has opened his gap to 1.9 seconds ahead of Gianni. Clogg is sitting in third. Kingsbury fourth. Fifth is Busch. Sixth, Schofield. Seventh, Kingsbury. Eighth, Fanning. Ninth, Rawls. And 10th, Lambert. That running order has not changed. So 16 cars are on track after the 17 that started. Peter Houston involved in an accident in the first corner. It looks like he's disconnected from Discord as well, so we have lost the BMW after one corner in the sprint race. 2 seconds is the gap from Challenger to Gianni. And I'm going to be interested to see how the lap times will pan out. Challenger was half a second up on Gianni that last lap. Looks like Kingsbury in the 21 might have had an issue. I'm going to roll it back and see. He ran it wide in the hairpin. Actually, he didn't run it wide. He gassed it and got on the grass. Very tricky in the infield to the inside of Schofield, and they touch. And Schofield comes out in front of the other Kingsbury brother and gets sent into the fence. As Kingsbury, both of them were very loose on entry. You're loaded up from that very slight amount of banking on that straightaway, and when you go down to that apron, you unload the car, it's very light. So, unfortunately, expected there. Lambert and Moftaw battling in the middle of the field. This is for the 9th spot between the Egyptian and the inaugural NASA Rallycross champion, Lambert, in the 46th, the man from Alabama. Challenger 2.3 seconds ahead of Gianni, but it's still this gaggle of cars for 10th on back. This is Lambert, Sohn, Forrest to the inside of Brian Sohn in the Ferrari. 2 Ferraris, new livery for Forrest in the 44. As they did switch cars, I do believe, from the McLaren. And as we're actually going to bring in Victor Vallee here for just a couple of moments, or actually to join me.
For the
Mike
rest of the
Berry's
race,
not going to make it. Chad Irvine was supposed to be here, and I did not know that.
I was gonna say, I guess he got stuck in Botswana. That's okay. I say I can fill the gap as needed here. But yeah, no, they. I know I was noticing on Kieran Force's social media that he was talking about switching from the McLaren to the Ferrari, and I believe there is also another guy that's running the Porsche this week for that team, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if they made it to the track or not. It was the other MPR car was going to be a Porsche. However, I don't think they made it to the track, and Josh, you could
Taylor
probably...
Carroll.
Yeah, Taylor
He is
Carroll
not
was
here.
going to run the Porsche for MPR, but did not make it to the track. So, we have the 2 Ferraris, and that does reset their points, if I do believe.
Yes, you are correct.
So that actually completely changes the point standings here, as Kieran Forrest will fall from 4th all the way down the order. And so that will be quite an implication, I guess. You know, I think they didn't see a chance at the AM Championship, and they decided to move on from that.
As Challoner was able to pull away just a bit, but I think they were equal on lap time, Janney versus Kingsbury's got a little bit of damage after being involved with Schofield coming across. The 27 sits in the 15th position. As we take a look at Lambert in the 46, looks like he lost it entering turn 1. And that's so easy to do, Victor. You load up these cars and they just snap on you.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially with this sim, it's one of the hardest sims to get right when it comes to getting the car in transition to work the way you want it to. I don't know what it is about
Victor
the sim.
fell off the face of the earth, so...
As I say,
I'm
I
by
hear
again.
myself.
We'll figure it out eventually.
As I say, I
We got
hear
a little bit of a
myself,
break
so
before
we'll,
the feature
let
race.
him figure it out.
2.4 seconds Challoner to Janney, as a further 3.4 back to Clog. As I want to ride on board Christian Challoner, let's give the viewers a little bit of a taste of the Homestead Miami Speedway.
So now I should be able to talk. There we are. So Josh, can you hear me now?
You are.
Okay, there
It
we are.
is better.
I was gonna say I know.
Let's,
I was gonna say I
let's
know
let these
I was
viewers
talking.
have the Audi sounds real quick.
Absolutely.
As we get closer to completing this lap, Victor, it's very interesting as we enter that final little infield section. You have to lift as you transition. I'll give you a moment in just a sec. I'm looking through the Discord chat. Peter Houston, well, that was a complete disaster. I've never once had that spin in practice. See you guys in October, I guess. Although, honestly, I think I've had my fill of GT3. Fine group of people, but you'd pay me quite a lot to get me in one of the cars again. Enjoy Sonoma. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, again, I don't. Again, I've had discussions with multiple drivers that don't run in GT, but just run in general on iRacing, and they say the same thing, is that the way iRacing's physics work is definitely a little bit different than what a lot of people are used to, and I'm gonna say it makes it a lot more challenging to get the car set up right, and I think Peter has just kind of had enough of it, and I quite frankly do not blame him. Now, does that make iRacing bad? No, it just makes it different than what a lot of people are used to, and I think there is a lot to be said about the sim as a good training tool as well. As we see Christian Challoner hit this infield section. This is absolutely the hardest section of the track to get right. Just because of how tight and technical it is. You go off and there's a sand trap right there, and you're also getting a slowdown as well. if you do make a mistake there as well. So add insult to injury, I guess you could say as well.
You come off the banking at $140 roughly. You hit the curb, the first curb at $130, and then you have to brake in a straight line. Rawls, I was looking at the Ferrari of Lane. Rawls lost it in the final corner, but I'm not even driving, obviously. And when we rode on board Challenger, you can sense that the car gets light as you transition off of the banking, and you wouldn't really think that the banking that is really nothing on the straightaway could affect it so bad, but it does. Challenger 2.6 ahead of Janney. Clog is sitting in third, 7.7 behind Challenger. He's actually falling into the clutches of David Busch, so the AM class Ferrari and the guy that has won the last 2 rounds of that championship, I do believe, and I will correct myself on that if I'm wrong, but he is putting up a fight here against one of the pro cars.
Absolutely, and I think he's doing a fantastic job. All of these AM guys are doing a fantastic job. Fanning is running 5th right now. Kevin Fanning, give a call to him, having the best run of his season. Looks like we've had some kind of problem for the driver who was running 5th at one point. That's Ray Kingsbury. He has had something go wrong from what I can understand here as well. So that's where he is. He's all the way down in 13th right now.
I will take a look off monitor for you really quick.
I say, Josh, you can update everybody at home.
Kieran, in turn 1, battling side by side with Ray. I think we've got it there. But he forced his way through in turn 1. They collided on corner exit because it looks like Ray got loose, and both of them are sliding.
So it must have been a couple laps ago because it was not here.
And forgive us rolling it back here, but we were trying to find it for you guys. But
doesn't
Forrest, a
look like
very aggressive move on the McLaren of Ray Kingsbury. So both of those guys falling down the order. 12th and 13th for those 2 drivers. As I correct myself, David Busch III, 3 wins on the season in the AM class. He won in Watkins Glen, Summit Point, and Detroit Belle Isle. It was Matt Kingsbury taking home his first victory in the Penguin RC Simulation Sports Car Challenge last week in Montreal.
And I know we looked at the AM points earlier this in the broadcast, but it is really close right now. And of course, right now, David Busch finishing 4th. He would only gain 1 more point on Kevin Fanning, so that doesn't make him safe at all going into the feature race. When it comes to his points lead, he can still lose that points lead in a matter of moments, in a matter of 1 incident in the feature. We hope that doesn't happen to him, but it can happen, and it has happened in the past to a lot of drivers, so it's definitely possible for him to lose the points lead today. So there's still a huge battle going on in that championship, and I have to give a call once again to Kevin Fanning, who's running right now P5 in that Ferrari ahead of Matt Kingsbury and Marwan Mafta, who's also having a really good run. I have to give it to that to Marwan. I think he's the only MPR car still running the McLaren.
As I was taking a look, due to the incidents that we have seen, this puts Brian Sohn and Marwan Mafta on the inversion front row. I don't know. I'm looking at Challenger here. If he backs it up, we won't have another lap, but he's going to make it to the line, and we're going to take the white flag in the sprint race. And how agonizing is this, Victor? 5 seconds or so left, and you have to take another lap.
Yeah, and I think, I can't remember who it was, back in the 60s, we had a driver, and I think it was the 24 Hours at Daytona, before it was the 24 Hours at Daytona. I want to say it was Dan Gurney. He stopped inches short of the line, just so he would not have to make another lap in his car because of how much damage it had. I believe it was overheating, and everything was going wrong for that car, but he had I think he had a lap up on the competition, so he just decided, I'm just gonna park here, let everybody go by, and just get to the checkered flag once time expires, and I'll win the race, and that's what he did.
as Challenger onto the back straightaway for the final time here in the sprint race for the Grand Prix of Miami. People kind of make fun of me and say, why do you like Roval so much? I love the two aspect nature, the technicality of the road course and the speed of the straightaways. For some reason, they will always hold a very close place in my heart. Final corner, Christian Challenger will win the sprint race in Miami. Max points for him, and Michael Janney finishes second. The gap has been lengthened by quite a few here in Miami. Finishing third is Clog. Fourth will be David Busch. As fifth looks like Matt Kingsbury. He got by Fanning in the Ferrari. The Porsche did at Kingsbury. He comes home in fifth. Fanning in sixth. Seventh, Moftaw. And Brian Sohn has lost the inversion pole to Seth Rawls in the Mercedes-Benz.
And that's the second time I believe Seth Rawls has gotten the inversion this year. He got it back in Sebring, and he was able to hang on and come away with an incredible finish there. So let's see if he can do it again here today.
Did Brian Sohn pull over?
That is a good question.
He did.
We'll have to see.
He did pull over.
Yeah.
Huh. Well, as Kieran Forrest roasted me in the admin tent a couple of weeks ago, I'm going to step away so I can have a little bit of food. Charlie Daniels, if you want to come in here and mention some Twitchland stuff, I'll be back shortly.
You got it, Josh. Thank you. And this time I'll keep an eye on things so you don't have to interrupt me when they start gridding for the feature. Welcome in, everybody. Good to see everyone coming to Nitro Circus Twitch. If you're new here, hit that follow button and say hey in chat. We are nothing but the best community on the platform, and it's awesome to have you here. So we love to meet new people and chit chat. A lot of stuff going on in Thrill One land this week. We've got the BMX tour just announced today. This is the second season, we'll call it, of the BMX tour that we launched last year during COVID. It was the only live show we were able to do last year, taking BMX riders to Walmart parking lots and setting up some of the biggest portable ramps in the business with some of the biggest landers, some of the best riders, all orchestrated and hosted by our very own Nitro Circus MC, Micah Kranz, who, if you're have been hanging out on this channel, then you know who Micah is. He hosts his show here. He's the co-host of the Micah and Brownie Show. Actually, he's the host of the Micah and Brownie Show, as well as the host of Micah Plays Games, which is our new Thursday show where we play different games with audience members. So make sure you check that out this Thursday.
So we got Wreckfest going on Thursday, don't we?
We do, yeah, Victor. We have attempted to play Wreckfest a couple weeks in a row here. We got it finally dialed in thanks to the help of Victor Vallee last week, and we will be playing Wreckfest on stream Thursday at 1 p.m. Pacific time, 4 p.m. Eastern time. But I'm getting ahead of myself now because I want to mention, hit that exclamation point BMX tour in chat, if you will, for me, Trevor Teal, so people can hit that link. We're doing, I don't even remember how many shows it is, but starting this coming weekend, we're on the road doing these BMX shows all over the country. So make sure you check. There's bound to be BMX tour is the command.
And that's free admission too, isn't it?
It's completely free. All you got to do is show up and watch some of the best BMX athletes in the world do some of the biggest tricks that are possible on this type of ramp without the gigantic drop in. It's crazy how good these BMX guys are these days. They can do double backflips, double front flips off of flat takeoff. I mean, there is a ramp, but obviously there's no drop in. It's a straight flat takeoff, I believe. Although with Micah's setup, he might bring a drop in, so I might be speaking out of turn there. We'll figure that out this week when we have Micah's show. So tune in on Thursday for the full details of the scope of it. But regardless, it's an awesome show and you don't want to miss it. Free. You pull up to Walmart, watch the show, go inside, get everything you need to survive, including at Walmart you can get groceries, a chair, a suit, and new tires for your car. It's one-stop shopping made easy. So not a sponsor. The other thing, it's Happy Go Skate Day. Today is Go Skateboarding Day. Obviously Street League Skateboarding is one of our sister companies at Nitro Circus. And we have skaters on tour. Travis Travis's wife Lindsay is a pro skateboarder who does skateboarding commentary for X Games. So skate is near and dear to our hearts. So Go Skateboarding Day is a big deal for us. So hopefully everyone who loves to skate or is interested in skating got to put their feet on the board today. Then we'll have another big announcement tomorrow. We just this whole week is big Nitro Circus announcements. So can't say more about that on this feed, but keep an eye out for some exciting news tomorrow that has to do with some upcoming national television broadcasts. I give a little teaser. National television broadcasts coming up for some Nitro events that involve Travis and some of our closest friends. It's going to be a good time. RC26, welcome in. You did miss the sprint. We're warming up for the feature here. But the feature's 45 minutes, so the best is yet to come. And then to close out my time, I thank you all for listening to me blabber on. I just want to plug in the programming notes for Nitro Circus Twitch for the rest of the week. We will have a stream tomorrow night, Nitro Circus League. That's our open iRacing league. It's slightly less serious than these Nassau leagues, but tons of fun, wide open. If you do !NC League in chat, you'll see how to join and make sure you join our Discords is the big one. So Tuesday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 4 p.m. Pacific Time. Wednesday, we'll be back with the Rallycross Challenge. That's 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 5:30 p.m. Pacific Time. We've got 2 more weeks of that left. And it's been the last couple of weeks have not been really about the overall standings in that race, but it's been watching some of the mid-pack drivers fight to make the feature. And some of those races have been the best racing we've seen all season. So I would come and get here on time for that so you don't miss the heat races, because honestly some of the best action has been in those heat races. I think you'd agree, Victor Vallee.
Yeah, absolutely. I think just trying to make the race has been absolutely insanely competitive, both in the heats and the semifinals. And to touch on the Nitro Circus League, tomorrow they're going to be doing some Formula V action at the street courses on iRacing, so Long Beach, Detroit, and the new Chicago street circuit as well. That's super bumpy, so it'll be really fun to watch. Just Formula V, not Formula E. To say I'll get in trouble if I say that too many times. But Formula V, as in Victor, street takeover tomorrow. As I say, as you said, Charlie, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. And
absolutely,
as I say, it's free.
I just threw a link in.
Free
to join up. I just threw a link in the chat for more details on those races tomorrow night. I'm also gonna put the Discord links in there.
Say that is awesome, and you get bonus points for the best livery. So hey, show up, make a really cool paint scheme, and you might win something. Who knows?
Definitely. And speaking of winning something, we'll also on the stream tomorrow night announce some of the formats for the next full series for Nitro Circus League, which will kick off 2 weeks from tomorrow and feature some pretty bonkers prizes for a free to enter event. So if you're into iRacing at all or thinking about getting into it, now's the time to polish off your wheel and get ready for some action, because for this series, not only are we going to have some great prizes for the series winners, but we're also going to throw in some fun prizes that have to do with things that don't just revolve around winning. We want to make you feel like everyone has a chance to win some prizes here, even if you're not necessarily the strongest driver. So it's going to be a super fun series, and we hope everyone joins for that.
And to quickly update everybody on what happened to Brian Sohn in the sprint race, it sounds like he might have been a little bit close on fuel, and he was sputtering across the line when that happened. Thank you, Josh Mertz, for that update. I know you go back and watch all of the action, so we don't have to, and we can update everybody on that.
I also had a quick update on that. Peter Houston wrote in Discord right after the quote that Josh gave. He said, "This is not a dig at iRacing's implementation. I dislike every other Sims GT3s more. It's just not my kind of car." So turns out Houston sitting in 5th place in the overall standings, so no slouch by any means, is saying he's just not really into the vehicles in general.
I mean, he's very good at it, though. I have to give him that. Have to give him credit where credit is due. He's been one of the best drivers all year long. Him, Janny, and Challenger, I'd have to say, is the top 3. Josh Clog right there as well. Those guys have been battling all year, and this is going to be a shame if he decides not to run Sonoma next week. But I completely understand a lot of people do get burnt out on this kind of iRacing stuff, which is again, you know, I hate to segue back into it, but is again why the Nitro Circus League is so much fun, is because that stuff is normally a 1-week thing, or if it's not a 1-week thing, you're always changing it up with a new car, new track, whatever. It's never the same thing over and over. And
meanwhile, Cubecasts, that's Chad Irvine, has popped back up in Twitch chat, and I'm seeing if he wants to come fulfill his destiny to commentate here.
So he is absolutely welcome to jump up here in the commentary cube. So aptly named after Chad himself, actually. Mr. Cubecast himself was able. I believe he christened the booth a couple weeks ago during the Cubecast championship. Speaking of the championship, that will be next week. But before we get to that point, we do have the feature coming up right now.
Big feature coming up. And we'll throw it back to Josh real quick, though. Thursday, 1 p.m. Pacific time, 4 p.m. Eastern time is that last stream of the week. So make sure you join for that. That's the Wreckfest stream with Micah Krantz. Throw it back to Josh Mertz, who's the voice of automotive sports in general. Let's hear this feature right now.
I like that. That makes me feel warm and fuzzy. Hello, Charlie. Hello, Victor. Hello, everyone. Welcome here to the feature race of the Penguin RC Simulations NASA Sports Car Challenge presented by Nitro Circus as we grid up, getting ready for this 45-minute race here in Homestead, Miami. Seth Rawls on pole position. Marwan Moftah second. That looks like Kevin Fanning in third. Fourth is Matt Kingsbury. Fifth, David Bush. Sixth, Josh Clog. Seventh, Jenny. Eighth, Challenger. I knew that I had messed up that count somewhere. Brian Sohn, after being close on fuel, sputtering, running out of fuel, whatever you want to call it, is in ninth. And what could have been for Sohn if he did not run out of fuel? We are waiting for Brandon Lambert, who has lost connection to the server. He is gridding in 15th position. So it looks like he might have to start from the pit lane, and dare I say it, he might prefer that, how crazy we've seen, but looks like we're going to have another minute to grid here. So I want to get some predictions. Charlie, what do you think?
Man, I hesitate to make an actual prediction. I just want to see this epic battle between Janny and Challenger play out over the next 2 weeks. I think it's going to come down to the wire, and I hope that the best driver wins.
Victor?
Well, to say I'm kind of panning around the car right now with the multiple drones we have at the virtual Homestead Miami Speedway. Watch this guy right here, Ray Kingsbury. He is going to be on a mission starting way back in the field, I believe 13th. And he's going to have to make his way through the field, so keep an eye on that red and white Spark McLaren. He's going to be coming through the field. He's going to be one to watch, as will the top 8 here. Of course, you had that invert, so Challenger and Janny right there lining up side by side. Seems like Challenger's had a better, much better luck getting through the field and getting through traffic. So it'll be interesting to see how these guys navigate the traffic here at the Homestead Miami Speedway. I put this track akin to almost the a street course on the inside. It feels like a street course on the inside. There's not really much room.
You read my mind.
For error here as we go ahead and get pacing here. It looks like Brandon has missed the start, or has he? I don't know if he's made the start. Looks like he is not. So he'll start from the pit lane. He just reconnected to the session. Unfortunately, not enough time for him to get that car on the grid, but as you said, it probably might be a blessing in disguise for him. He'll be able to start out back, away from any trouble that may happen down into turn 1, because it is so tight into turn 1.
As we're reminded, this corner right here, turn 3, it is slightly cambered, so it's very hard to get the car really pointed in the right spot, and I would imagine on the apex very difficult as you want to run up the hill. Down the first straightaway of the infield, and I have to say, out of all the Rovals that I have seen, this one is very unique. I like you said, it's like a street circuit given the walls are so close. And this double apex kind of in the infield, I don't think, I was going to say it's double apex, but I'm just
really
so...
a double apex, Josh. I gotta break it to you. It's definitely 2 corners for sure there. It feels like a double apex, no doubt, but
I've raced it before, but it's been a while, so cut me some slack.
Yeah. So say I think this hairpin right here is a great opportunity to get a run on somebody coming out and try to pass them down into the next infield section.
This corner here,
I was gonna say that
reminds me of the entrance back to the oval at Daytona.
Yes,
because
actually. Yeah.
you have the flat and the surface change.
Yeah. And we remember so famously here in 2003, I believe it was, Max Pappas and Jan Magnussen beating and banging in Daytona prototypes here. Love this course. Always provides a lot of action as we set down into infield of the oval in 3 and 4, which the Grand Am cars use the banking, but I would say we don't have that luxury today, unfortunately. I personally would have liked to see that course, but I'd say the admins had other plans, and actually that does add one extra passing opportunity as we're about to go green here.
Pace car is off. Seth Rawls and Marwan Moftaw will lead us to the green flag of the feature race in Miami. Green flag at Homestead, and already a huge lead for the Mercedes-Benz of Rawls down into turn number 1. It's 2 car lengths side-by-side fanning with Kingsbury and Moftaw to the inside of Rawls into turn 1. 1 car around, it's Brian Sohn. Another car around, it's Robbie Larill. So 2 cars involved already as Lambert has exited the pit lane. Like I mentioned, blessing in disguise, where I'm trying to pay attention to the middle of this field, but Marwan Moftaw is all over the back of that Mercedes, followed by Matt Kingsbury behind him. Kevin Fanning sits in 4th. David Busch 5th, 6th Janney, 7th Clog, 8th Challenger. So Challenger has not made any
Kingsbury
progress.
Down the inside.
What a move by Kingsbury.
That was on Steve Lane, I believe. Indeed it was.
So, Brian Sohn still on track. Larill has parked. No, Larill has not parked it, but Lambert has gotten by Sohn.
And Moftaw to the inside on Rawls, side by side, coming out of the hairpin. I told you that was going to happen. And what happened on the first lap? And here comes Matt Kingsbury. Almost got the name wrong. And he's going to try to take the lead right here as well.
Inside, entering the black contact!
Oh,
and
no.
Moftaw slides it into Rawls! And Rawls is sliding nearly! Fanning is sliding as well! And Fanning nearly clips David Busch!
And
what is happening? Where's
chaos.
Dylan Body? Where's the Twilight Zone when I need it? At the end of the first lap, Matt Kingsbury's leading!
And he's going to try to check out here. And obviously, we're not going to be the ones to determine penalties or not. But I can definitely tell you that Seth Rawls and I'm going to say Marwan Moftaw will not be happy campers after that one. They're going to have the red mist going. I think a lot of guys are going to have the red mist going after that first lap.
It's Moftaw back to 13th, Sohn 14th, 15th Larill. So Larill trying to get back to pit lane. 16th Seth Rawls.
And he does. He's going to make it back to pit lane, as does Rawls. Both of those cars tore up. You hate to see it for those guys. But we still do have a battle on track here for, I believe, second place.
Because I was going to mention that there's 3 AM-class cars at the front of this field.
And
but it all came unglued.
And speaking of coming unglued, Challenger is in 5th right now. He's behind Clog and Janney. So this is absolutely detrimental to the points. If Janney can stay out in front, this is going to be huge. And if Clog can stay ahead of Challenger, that would be even bigger.
Of course, there's no real blocking or team orders in NASA Sim Racing, but of course you want to make that car a little bit wider than normal. and Michael Janney wants to dispatch David Busch relatively quickly, but the Audi of Challoner exits the oval. Looks like he's a bit faster than the McLaren of Clog down into turn number 1.
Definitely
entering the
has
corner.
That slipstream.
Janney closed.
Larill rejoins.
Larill exits the pit lane. Thank you there. Janney all over the rear wing of the Lamborghini of David Busch. As David Busch and Matt Kingsbury, the last 2 winners of the AM class, they don't care about the pro battle, but certainly for the overall standpoint, Janney wants to deputize these 2 guys, get by them, and have that breathing space between him and Challoner. The gap coming in was 5 points. The gap for the feature race is 3 points. So technically right now, Victor, it is 8 points for the championship.
8 points. And if you look right behind Challoner, you have Ray Kingsbury. That's another teammate. You have to remember that the McLarens here, the yellow and black ones, the fiercely forward guys, they have an extra car on that team, and that's Ray Kingsbury in that white and red Spark McLaren sitting there in 6th. He's hounding Christian Challoner. He's going to try to get around Challoner, of course, as well.
Entering the infield section, Matt Kingsbury holding his own, 1 minute 21.9, 1 minute 21.6 for Busch, 1 minute 21.3 for Janney. Challoner is trying so hard, but Clog going a little bit slower. He is in a spark sandwich with Clog and Kingsbury here. That's Challoner, that is.
You see Challoner once again peeking to the outside, going to try to get the move to the inside. Don't think a pass can happen in this section unless you're really elbows out here forcing your way through. So I don't think we'll see a pass here, but into the next corner and then that hairpin leading back onto the oval, that's where I think you'll see Challoner try to get it done.
David Busch was actually faster than the other 2 in the top 3. Cubecasts has found his way back from Botswana. We have Chad Irvine joining us here, so he'll be chiming in. And what are you thinking so far, Chad? Unless he's fallen off the face of the earth for now. We'll see.
He's got to walk here. He still has a little bit more walking to do, that's all.
He hasn't figured out the teleportation like Cube has, apparently.
No.
Top 3 getting very close.
There he is.
I got lost in the Walmart parking lot. I was a little bit early to the Nitro show this weekend.
That's what it is.
Absolute carnage, though, on the first lap. Oh, my goodness.
As Janney pushing hard.
Yeah, he went
trying
off
to catch Busch. Challoner all over the rear wing of Clog. That's Janney's teammate. The Audi can really bite that transition, but Clog, it's interesting that Clog's not defending like I thought he would. You can go all the way down to the inside wall, of course. There's no out of bounds like at Super Speedway and NASCAR, but that does hurt your line entering turn 1.
The biggest thing I noticed from these guys from talking this week is just how much it upsets different cars when you come back up onto the banking. It can definitely seem to upset different cars in different ways, especially with the angle that you attack that transition.
I believe, I can't remember which car it was. I think it was the Porsche is affected the most adverse by that banking from what I heard earlier this week. Chad, you could probably fill me in on that a little bit more. I think that's what I heard was the Porsche is probably the worst off when it comes to that transition.
If I remember right, yeah, you were absolutely correct with it being the Porsche. And if I remember right, also Matt Kingsbury, your leader, did switch to the Porsche
Yeah, he
after
is
last
in
week,
a Porsche, so
He is racing the Porsche.
all the more impressive to see what Matt Kingsbury is doing out front in that Porsche right now.
And what's really interesting, not only David Busch was faster than Kingsbury by half a second, faster than Janney as well. Kingsbury's got the same right front damage that he did in the sprint race, so I think he's taking a much earlier line than these guys. Maybe Busch is running the same line, but there's a little damage on Janney's car. So I was thinking, and we talked about it earlier on before we came on air, Victor, why do you think these guys just stay left of the banking? I don't know why you'd take the banking and risk damaging your car.
Well, I think one thing that I see is if you jump up onto that banking, you're straight lining it more so. You're losing less speed. You're scrubbing off less speed compared to if you were to keep it as low as possible and try to run onto the apron. You can't turn left as much on the apron compared to when you're on the banking. So I think that's probably what it comes down to, is they're using that banking to turn the car, get a little bit more speed out of it onto the front straightaway.
Challoner's still stuck behind Clog in the 199. Challoner looks to the inside, thought about it, Not close enough.
Way too far back to be
Top
making
three, all
comments.
over each other here, boys.
Yeah, just too far back for Challenger to make that move a little too late. Needs to stay in the slipstream a little bit longer, but man, you get such long straightaways here, both on the front and the back, as well as kind of towards the infield section as well. Definitely, you need to maximize your run off the corner, and I think that goes back to what we were talking about earlier with using the banking to get as much of a run as you can.
As I was paying attention to Busch. As we look at Janny to the inside, so our defending champion of the pro category to the inside of Busch, and he will be moved into second, and Challener's still stuck behind his teammate. But I looked at Busch transitioning off of the banking, entering Oval 3. The car, and we mentioned how it gets light on that transition. It's almost like a roller coaster because I saw the car go up and down and side to side. I didn't think that there was really an elevation change, but it looks like there is. So he was affected by that and missed the apex on the first part of that chicane. So that's why that Lamborghini got passed for second.
Yeah, there's an incredible amount of oscillation from the springs and also the bumps that are down there in Oval 3 and 4 on the infield portion. This isn't a new course. I don't think they've ever repaved the road course here for Miami. I know they had the oval repaved and reconfigured multiple times, but the road course portion of this I don't think has ever been touched besides when it was built in 1995.
This is one of my favorite. I like I said earlier, I can just watch cars at this track all day long, and I really, it's a shame that from what I know, none of the big series actually run this track. Because think about it, IndyCar could, NASCAR could if they wanted to switch it up. Challenger, real quick on our little tangent, Challenger to the inside of Clog. He's going to clip the curb. Clog's going to get loose into our points leader.
And that's going to give... we have
Busch.
Car off.
Busch runs it off the track.
Got to be something wrong for Busch to go straight off like that. Just went straight.
Yeah, everything just locked up. I think his wheel might have disconnected.
He was mid-corner, and then even the brakes were still enabled.
Yeah, that looks... That has all the signs of a hardware failure for David Busch. You hate to see it for your AM championship leader.
He's
going
back
into
on track,
tonight.
so I think that's what happened.
Yeah, and that's going to put him all the way down to 12. Kevin Fanning running 7. Josh, I know you know the points better than I do. I think that might tie everything up.
Yeah, the biggest thing, by the way, for Challenger is he picked up 2 spots from that as he got by Clog, and then Busch, of course, ran wide.
Yes.
So that's a huge gain there for Christian Challenger.
And now there's no cars between Janny and Challenger once again.
But you had to make something happen if you're Challenger. You can't have your championship rival just pulling off into the distance. So the gap is 8 points, but what's interesting is it's a 5-point gap from second to third. So realistically, if we look back at this, Janny was technically points leader as of a lap ago.
Yep.
Until Challenger made those 2 moves. So the thing that Janny would have to do right now is pass Kingsbury and hold that spot, because that would give him the points lead by, looks like, 2 points over Challenger. So every position matters. And I don't care that we only have 17 cars, 16 now or 15 or however many. I've said this over so many shows. It's quality over quantity.
So we got quality right here with Ray Kingsbury and Josh Clog. These 2 grade A road course racers. Ray known more for his IndyCar stuff than his sports car stuff, but he's no slouch in these sports cars.
The inaugural champion of this series when it was called GT Americas, when our guy Chad Irvine called the series. We remember that race at Daytona Beach. I remember it because I self-spun like 3 times and I was so mad because I was really fast. But
that's why you're up here in the booth.
Lost the championship on a tiebreaker that season. So that's actually a perfect example of every position matters.
Oh, look at Clog. He's all over Ray. And these 2 are battling for, I believe, 3rd in the championship. So the more points that Ray can get on Clog, the better for him and the better chance he has at getting 3rd in the drivers. The constructors all locked up for Fiercely Forward and Spark, as you see there. 215 points, only, I believe, 100 and something on offer tonight, so not going to happen for Matco Tools or NPR for that matter. But to say, definitely, I don't think Matco Tools was looking at that championship. I think they're looking more at the AM championship we now bring up.
As I would normally pay attention to that graphic, but you can take a look on the left-hand side. I mentioned this because at the last lap time rotation, 1 minute 21.695 for Janney, 6:06 for Kingsbury. Challenger, 1 minute 21.011, 6 tenths, nearly 7 tenths faster than Janney that last lap. Gap between them 1.1 seconds as of now.
And I think Janney's getting held up here a little bit by Matt Kingsbury. Not too much, but I think it's definitely the dirty air is going to be affecting that McLaren. You'll probably see a pass here down into turn 1 if I would have to guess.
As I was just about to say, I hope you didn't forget to pull that graphic off. Janney is desperate to dispatch Kingsbury because Challenger was a 10th down that last lap, so half a second up was Janney on Kingsbury, actually 4 tenths. But I would be desperate to dispatch him because that gives you the points lead. Even if Challenger finishes second, it gives you the points lead.
So you are exactly correct on that, I do believe.
I have the spreadsheet next to me, so I hope I am.
Yep. Say I want to grab that as well, just so I have it.
Looks like the sun's going down. It's looking to get a little bit colder. Like I said in the open, Florida in the summertime doesn't necessarily get super cold. I remember when I visited Orlando for my work trip, we were swimming at like 3 in the morning at the Disney pool. So that was a good time. Probably drunk, but it was a good time.
Never a bad time in Florida. Never a bad time.
Janney's
Always party.
I just can't imagine what a Best Buy work trip would be down to Disney.
It wasn't. So it's called Achievers. You have 5 days, okay? 2 days are travel to fly to and from. You have 1 day of a vendor show where you take 8 hours and you get free stuff and you just learn about stuff. And then the other 2 days we got to go to Disney and Orlando and Universal. And it was just a big party, all expenses paid. So again, not a sponsor, but I appreciate the company I work for. And Kingsbury
he just
runs it wide.
and
Janney
that's
to the
gonna give
lead.
Janney
Let's
to the points lead
stop
as well.
talking about work trips. Challenger to second.
And Challenger last lap made up 8 tenths of a second. So he definitely was pushing that last lap, and he's right there, right behind your new leader, Michael Janney.
And
Yes.
Janney was
This is
definitely
crucial,
effective,
boys.
so we'll see what Janney can do in this clean air.
And by the way, if you look at our podium right now, 3 different manufacturers on the podium.
And Janney's off.
Janney
He's
runs it
wide.
Wow!
Challenger to the lead.
Can Janney respond now? That's the question.
The biggest thing is how much momentum did Janney lose. It doesn't look like he's losing a ton of ground as they go into braking, but he's got some work to do. We've seen Christian Challenger be very good at defensive driving throughout this season.
Absolutely, and definitely has the car when it comes to the straight line speed. That Audi seems to be absolutely dominant on the straights. So we'll see if the McLaren can respond. I know we've said earlier this year that the McLaren might have been the faster car in straightaways, but looks like Challenger has that thing trimmed out.
This changes the points complexion from Janney up by 2, Challenger up by 18. If
yes.
it ends like this. That is huge, as one race is 50 points. That's almost half a race with 1 race left. So Janney's got to get this done.
Yeah, maximum points in a race is 58. So if you win the sprint race next week and you win the feature and Challenger is right behind you in both of those, that's only a 13-point swing. Not going to be enough to win the championship like that. So definitely Janney's going to have to get something done tonight to go into the final race with the points lead.
There's Challenger pulling away from Janney. 6 tenths of a second is the gap. Last lap time, 1.3 seconds faster was Challenger. Granted, Janney ran it wide, but still huge margin for Janney to give up.
The big loser that last lap was Kingsbury, losing 2 spots.
Yes, definitely.
Clogged
Yeah.
to the inside of the other Kingsbury. That's Ray, his teammate. So the 2 fiercely forward Spark cars swapping places.
They've been sparring for the last couple laps, these two. I know Ray was ahead of Clog at one point. I think Clog had an issue, and that's why he was behind both. That's why he gave up the spot to Challenger and Kingsbury at one point. But now it looks like Clog has gathered it back up He's on his way back towards the front. And to quickly update everybody, David Busch back up to 9th right now. That's 22 points for the feature. And Kevin Fanning sitting in 7th. That's 26 points. So that means, as it stands right now, David Busch still retains the points lead over there.
As I was just about to mention, sorry, Chad, I'll give you a second here in a minute. Matt Kingsbury's in 3rd. He is 1.7 off the lead. I'm going to reference the lead for this. Kevin Fanning is 2nd in the AM class, 18 seconds off the lead. Simple math, 16 seconds between Kingsbury and Fanning.
And I wish that Matt had better luck this year and did not forfeit his points. Because had he not forfeited his points, we could be looking at a really good battle for the AM Championship right now between Kingsbury, Fanning, and Busch.
And by the way, the big thing for Busch, you mentioned he is 2 spots behind Fanning. The biggest thing there is the interval. He's about 14 seconds behind. Steve Lane is 6 seconds ahead of Busch, so he's got some work to do if he wants to keep making up spots and hold on to that points lead.
Looking at the interval right now, David Busch 7.1 seconds and gaining on Steve Lane, Kevin Fanning's teammate, who runs currently in P8.
And what's interesting about this AM class is obviously it's 2 races within, but it's not like Matt Kingsbury gets first place points. He's going to get 3rd place points. So realistically, let's say that Fanning were to blitz everyone and win the race, and Lane or Busch don't move, that is, you get 1st place points, and then in this instance, 8th place points, which is 25. So what I'm getting at is you have to worry about the overall race and your subclass.
Yeah, absolutely. You can have such a huge point swing, like you can see right here with Matt Kingsbury running 3rd right now in the feature. That's 35 points. Kevin Fanning only getting 26 points, so a 9-point swing right there. That's a 5th of what you can get if you win the race right there. So that's quite a lot.
Last lap, Challenger, 1 minute 21.250, 1 minute 21.703. It was half a second. So Jenny is down by 1.3. I want to bring in Charlie Daniels. How is Twitchland so far through the feature?
Everyone's eyes are just glued on this battle, rooting for their favorite driver. Although people are pretty quiet, I have a feeling we got a lot of Janny fans in the audience, because we always do. So, I think chat is rooting for Janny right now.
As remember, you can join the conversation, hashtag NASA on Nitro, hashtag ASNTV USA, or at NASA on iRacing, as it's Josh Mertz, Victor Vallee, Chad Irvine, Charlie Daniels, bringing you the call for Nitro Circus Twitch, powered by the Automotive Sports Network. The Penguin RC Simulation NASA Sports Car Challenge, presented by Nitro Circus. It's the Grand Prix of Miami, the penultimate round of the season, and Christian Challenger handed this race on a silver platter, given the incidents in turn 1, well, realistically, the incidents on the first lap, then in turn 1, and then Janny ran it wide in turn 4. Looks as though Brokaw, we take a look at the 67 there for just a moment. He ran the oval, I think, so he might have an issue. Lambert sneaks to the inside of the Ford, and Lambert sits in 12th after having that issue on the start and not being able to grid.
And I think the biggest thing for Challenger is just getting around traffic. We've seen it week in and week out. He has pure pace. I mean, we know how skilled he is in these cars with all the wins that he's racked up. Currently the series leader in terms of overall wins. But absolutely dominating this race. Once he got through the traffic, he was going to have to fight with Janny. Once Janny made that mistake, the door was wide open. He is just pulling away.
To put it into perspective, Michael Janny, second all-time on the feature wins list, 4 wins. Josh Klog, Philip Kraus, Sabian Ragster, David Busch all have 3, because remember, we score the AM and the Pro classes together for the stat book. To put it into perspective, Janny 4, Challenger 13.
And counting.
Wow.
And counting. And one more thing to mention, Challenger's last lap was a 21.031. His best was a 21.012, so he hasn't lost too much time. And for Janny, unfortunately for him, he was 0.6 off of that pace, a 121.619, his best being a 121.379. So even if he ran his best lap, he was still 3/10 off the pace. Best lap time compared to the leader, Christian Challoner. And actually, I do have to mention this real quick. Matt Kingsbury did close in on Jenny just a little bit there on the last lap, a 10th up for Matt Kingsbury.
Yeah, we're about halfway through this race, and it is just absolutely flying by. Christian Challoner, of course, took the lead a couple of laps ago. But even throughout this field, we've got the top three are 3.5 seconds apart or so. Josh Klog, he might have a handful with Ray Kingsbury right behind him. Otherwise, field pretty spread out. Looks like Lane, Bush, and Forrest are kind of closing in on one another. They're getting pretty close there for 8th, 9th, and 10th.
So we do have a couple cars off track. Marwan Moftah in the 191, Robbie Lorille in the 213, Seth Rawls in the 125, and we remember Peter Houston, lap 1, turn 1 of the sprint race, spun it in the BMW, and he has effectively withdrawn his participation from this series, if I read that check.
And Josh,
correctly.
I hate to actually, I think I might be making a liar out of myself as Robbie does decide to tow it back to the pits. I was gonna say he was on track there, but now has towed back to the pits. I believe there's some more issues for Robbie Lorille in that Ford GT. One of two out there. We finally have an extra Ford GT out there, and I'm gonna say Seth Rawls is the only Mercedes. He is back in the pits as well. So an unfortunate day for those guys. The unicorns of the field, I guess you could say, as well as Matt Kingsbury in the Porsche. I don't even have a little manufacturer indicator for the Porsche because I was not expecting anyone to run that at all. So Matt's making my graphics look worse than they should. So I'll yell at him for that one.
I noticed it, but I also didn't notice it because his car is gray.
Yeah.
So it kind of works out.
It does. It absolutely does.
Challoner, 1 minute 21.249, 0.43 for Janny, so 0.2 down further. And it's just one of these things. I mean, I honestly, when I see Challoner run one of these GT cars, my mind immediately goes to Lewis Hamilton. Why? Because when Lewis gets in front of the field, he's gone. You have to keep him behind you in order to have any chance of winning the race.
You also have to find a way to get rid of his tires because then he starts complaining to Bono about not having his tires. So
I guess that's true.
As I say, once his tires are gone, actually at the same time he has put up a lot of fast laps once he said that. So I don't know. I don't know how to stop Lewis Hamilton besides being in front of him.
Put him in the wall.
Yeah, I was gonna say that could work too, but I'm gonna say I don't think that'd be a good way to win the championship overall here. But with that said, however, Challoner out front by a lot. I'm gonna say we all know how good Christian Challoner is. Former NASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series driver, and his forte was the road courses in that. So it goes to show that's where his forte is the road course racing, and he's definitely proving it here today. Once again, P1 by 2.4 seconds over Michael Janey in second place.
Exiting the pit lane was Lorille. Sorry, Chad. He exited the pit lane, staying out of the way of the leaders.
I just want to say I'm going to do Charlie's job a little bit for him, but man, I am way too excited for tomorrow night. Right here on the Nitro Circus Twitch, we're going to have the Formula V at Long Beach, Detroit, and Chicago, and it's going to be so much fun. Charlie, I know you're excited for that one too. I'll put you in the wall.
Absolutely, it's destined to be awesome.
So I don't think Charlie's going to run because now you've told him that you're going to put him in the wall. So,
well, between that and going to a Walmart parking lot to watch some guys do flips and stuff on bicycles and stuff that would probably make me just end up dying if I tried it. I'm excited for everything that Nitro Circus has going on this week or
and
next couple weeks.
And Chad, I know this for a fact. You're going to bring a beautiful paint scheme to the Formula V little runoff thing tomorrow night at the Street Circus. I know you too well. You're gonna have something really beautiful, and hopefully,
I've already posted it over in the league Discord. So
I was gonna say I will have to see that.
Yep.
Yeah, and there you go. That's a good way to segue into joining the action. You can always join the Discord, the Nitro Circus Discord, and the North American. I was gonna say, Josh, you know the whole thing. North American Simulated Auto Racing Discord as well, the NASA Discord, as we all mention it as. It is not the rocket ship NASA as much as I wish it was. That'd be kind of cool.
With the dumb stuff that I do with cars, we definitely turn them into rocket ships sometimes. You guys have seen my flying sprint car from Indianapolis.
Yes.
We also saw when Tim Brokaw took flight at Lime Rock.
Yes.
Oh my God, going all the way back to season 1. That was quite the moment.
I was racing in that race, and then I saw a car flying through the air, and I was like, "What the hell is going on?" And
I remember that
because
he
was gone.
I remember that because we went back after the race and watched your onboard, and we all just died laughing because that was probably the most absurd thing I've ever seen in iRacing. And let's say, as much as we hope drivers don't wreck, we hope if they do it, they make it spectacular, as we see Brian Saun off here. I was gonna say, Brian Saun has gone off again here. I'm not sure what happened. He's not having a good day.
He clipped the dirt exiting the corner.
That is unfortunate.
He ran way too quick into turn 1, pushed it wide, missed the apex, and just Nitro Circus slid it. He would have been fine, but he clipped the dirt right where it sank around him.
He was already going around at that point. Yeah.
But if there's anything, I love mentioning the Nitro Circus and NASA partnership came together due to Ray Kingsbury, I want to say. So
yes, it was Ray who reached out.
The big memeage, as we could call it, between NASA and Nitro, certainly a fun community that I've tried to build with all the teams. So we take a look at these 2 serious series on Monday and Wednesday, and then we have that fun stuff on Tuesday and Thursday. So be sure to take a look on our Twitch all week long. Christian Challoner has just poked his nose into the 1-minute 20s. Just to add insult to injury, his fastest lap was last lap, 1 minute 20.909. Janny ran a 21.628.
We also have a battle heating up here for 3rd place, Matt Kingsbury. And actually, Matt Kingsbury starting to run away from Josh Clogg once again, but it keeps ebbing and flowing between these two guys. Josh gets a little bit closer, then Matt pulls away, and then once Matt pulls away, Josh gets back a little bit closer once again, and these guys keep going back and forth. And I think eventually you'll see Matt Kingsbury and Josh Clogg battling here as we hit 15 minutes to go in the feature race. So we got a sprint race left in us here. One more sprint race left in the tank. Now, I wish they would actually reward points mid-race. As they do it like stages, but without cautions. That would be pretty cool. I think that might be something I'd talk to those guys about.
And by the way, a little further back in the pack, David Bush has dispensed of Steve Lane, so he's now right behind Kevin Fanning, about 3 seconds back, with about 15 minutes to go. So he definitely has a
Plenty of
shot
time
to make up one more spot there. He's only a couple seconds behind, so we can definitely see him going down these long straightaways.
Plenty of time to make that happen for sure. So we look once again here at the battle for 4th. Clogg trying to catch Kingsbury. That's a new Porsche, brand new car on the service. So, Josh, I know you worked with the Corvette C8R when it came out. And is there any teething issues do you think that Matt might be having with that car tonight?
Do you say that because he has teeth on the front of his car?
You know, I didn't think about that.
Was that unexpected?
No pun intended.
I thought you were going exactly for that. That had to be intentional.
No pun intended,
honestly,
but you know what?
Honestly,
I'll take it.
No. I mean, my experience, my personal opinion is, and obviously it could be wrong, but you don't release products necessarily that are bad. And if they are, you patch it right away. But I mean, iRacing has a reputation to make sure that everything is good and done. I didn't have any issues with the Corvette. Granted, I'm not super duper fast, but it doesn't look like there's any issues with Matt. I mean, he has been really quick compared to when he raced in the McLaren. So looking to get another win for Dirt Esport, making it 2 in a row for him and his team. So he's got a huge margin over Fanning, who is really being stalked by David Bush. Bush was 0.2 of a second faster the last 2 laps.
Yeah, I know about that new Porsche that just came out. Christian Challoner, I don't know if either of you guys are in his Discord. He's talked a lot about that. It's gotten a lot of positive feedback from the community. He's done a great job working with that car, with the iRacing staff to get it and the setups where they need to be for it to be a car. And I've heard nothing but good things about it. So definitely some hard work from the iRacing staff to get that car release ready, and it seemed to be updated, released pretty smooth.
As the lights come on here in Homestead, Miami, as we enter the final 12 and a quarter minutes here at Homestead. Christian Challenger leads Michael Janney. The gap has increased to 4.5 seconds. Kingsbury sitting in third, 1 minute 22 even. Clog was 7/10 up that last lap on Kingsbury.
Do have to apologize for the technical difficulties a little bit. We are working to get those sorted out, but these guys are doing their best job to put on a good show regardless of how many frames they show up at.
As Ray Kingsbury sits in fifth, sixth is Schofield, seventh is Fanning, eighth is Busch. Busch was once again, oh God, a second and a half faster than Fanning last lap around. So I think this is going to be the battle that we'll have to focus on.
Yeah, that gap lap after lap, Busch has just closed it in, and Fanning in the infield section made a slight mistake, ran a little bit wide, but kept the car under him and is able to just kind of keep things pointed in the right direction.
As I look on our internal feed here, and I looked in the rear view camera of Matt Kingsbury, and he had a camera full of Josh Clog in the 199. I'm going to tell you publicly that I think that onboard camera was your issue because it renders the track and the track behind him, and that's probably what the issue was. Clog, 1 minute 21.761. 3/10. I'm a liar. 3/10 faster than Clog was Kingsbury. I want to look at this lap time rotation between Fanning and Busch. I'm paying attention here. 7th and 8th overall. As on screen, we have Kingsbury versus Clog. Fanning clobbers the banking, exiting the road course. And let's see what he runs this last lap. 1 minute 22.1. Busch, 1 minute 21.5. Another 6/10. Challenger has dispatched of Brian Sohn in the 0-3. Gap is 4.1 for the race lead. But the two biggest battles here, Chad, Josh Clog and Matt Kingsbury, and then David Busch and Kevin Fanning.
Yeah, Kieran Forrest had a look at Steve Lane, by the way. Those guys were pretty close together on track. Forrest was almost clear of Lane, but got a little bit loose and unfortunately had to give the spot back. Man, these guys are just battling all over this racetrack for positions all throughout the field.
As let's see what Clog runs this last lap, trying to close onto the podium. 1 minute 21.368 to a 1 minute 21.4, so he was a 10th up, but that 10th does not help him. 6/10 is the gap, and he's got 9 1/4 minutes left to go here in Homestead.
They say time flies when you're having fun, but man, these 35 minutes so far have just flown by. Absolute blast watching these guys. Just, I mean, even the littlest mistake from these guys just closes everybody right up together. And with the exception of Challenger, I think that everybody's had a little bit of a moment at one point or another during this race.
Kevin Fanning, 1 minute 22.0. Busch, 1 minute 21.8. So another 2/10 out of that advantage. It is a 1.5 between those two for second in the AM class. That is for 7th overall. Josh Clog trying to close the gap on Kingsbury. He has been stalking him in the 199.
And gentlemen, I have to point out earlier in the race on the opening laps, Christian Challenger did make contact earlier, and if you look at the right side of that car, see if we can get a good angle on it. We're not going to see it here, but you might see it going down into turn 1. There is significant damage on the right side, especially on the floor of that Audi R8 LMS. Let's see if we can get a good view here. So you see it right here. If you look, absolutely banged up on that right side. So not good for Challenger, but he's been making the most out of that car.
And by the way, Kieran Forrest has gotten around Steve Lane for the 9th position. Doing excellent work battling to get that spot away, and he's now up into 9th, but he is about 15 seconds or so behind David Busch, next car in line.
Last lap time, 10th up was Clog over Kingsbury, but Kingsbury driving the wheels off of that Porsche. Speaking of driving the wheels off, another 10th out of Fanning's advantage over David Busch. I never thought that I'd be making such a big deal over 7th place. But it is a wonderful battle to
Deep
watch.
on the brakes is Kingsbury, or Clog right there. All over Kingsbury now as we head onto the oval.
And getting there is one thing, but being able to get by is where the real issues seem to come in. Especially on a track like this, you just need to kind of force the guy into an error of some sort. Maybe kind of flash your lights in his mirror, or kind of tuck out a line just enough to make him think about getting defensive with it. Man, it's just such a difficult track. You have to set up your move maybe 1 or 2 corners ahead of time to be there to make that move.
I can tell you, when I drove the GTE cars, I would flash my lights consistently because I know that is a way to break someone's focus and pressure them into a mistake.
Well, unless you're Jordan Taylor, in that case, he's absolutely for it. He loves it. He's having the disco in there, and he's enjoying his time when a Porsche flashes their headlights in his rear view mirror.
Gap was equal from Kingsbury to Clog, and Gap, well, they haven't finished their lap yet, so I'll pay attention to Fanning and Busch off monitor. On monitor, we look at Kingsbury versus Clog still. 1 minute 21.9, 1 minute 22.0. No advantage for Busch this lap. I think that's actually the first lap that he has not had an advantage.
By the way, that slow card there that you just saw, black and green on the side of your
Clog
screen.
to the inside. Kingsbury got a great run, great exit off the corner.
That slow car you just saw was Robbie Lareal. He's just not giving up. He is 6 laps down, had a ton of trouble today, but he is never going to quit in this race. He's going to give everything he's got these last 6 minutes.
Deep on the brakes is Clog. I agree with Lareal. He would never quit, even if he was 10 laps down in a race. He would always try and get on track and get the track time.
Track time for Robbie, I think that's something that goes hand in hand. We see him with the rallycross running at any time, any given day, any given moment of the
He just
of the
wadded
day.
it up again. I hate to bring him up,
Man.
but he wadded it up again, and he is crab walking really bad in the 213.
That's
So
unfortunate to see and hear for him. But
He is the
definitely-
He's the only driver in the field without an A or B class license. He is currently a rookie rated on the road. Man, he's trying his best out here with some tough competition. Oh, David Busch goes around.
Oh, we have
As we
David Busch spinning.
take
Yes,
a look off monitor.
on monitor
Good
now.
catch
Yes,
for Chad Irvine there.
And
And
this is
David
gonna cost
Busch.
him. There goes Kieran Forrest around him.
That
And
was
Steve Lane.
interesting. He lost it on the transition. He
So we're gonna
plowed
go
the
ahead and watch this
transition
back.
like normal. And watch this. He just, I don't even know how to explain it. He just loses it. It's like the car loses all of its weight.
Yeah, there looks like there was a bit of damage that popped up on the right rear as well. Maybe he took it at an angle that the car just didn't like, and he maybe bumped something on the right side of that car, where to the point that it did upset it and spin the car around. So he's going to drop back to 10th position now.
Clog on the outside. Will Clog seal the deal for third? Kingsbury very loose on the inside in the Porsche. Can't make it happen. He's going to look at the undercut underneath Kingsbury into turn 2. Kingsbury shuts the door.
Gonna have to take a quick replay here, show you guys what happened, what opened that opportunity. Almost the same thing that happened to Busch happened to Kingsbury right there.
Oh, and Kingsbury got loose getting out of that transition. Might have given up a ton of momentum. Man,
That's
he's just
exactly
all over
what
the
he
place
did.
right now.
That's
I want to
exactly what he
update
did.
you. I think that spin takes David Busch out of the points lead for the AM category. Of course, it's unofficial because I don't have the numbers in front of me, but he only had 7 points ahead of Fanning.
Wow,
As we-
what a battle that's turning into.
Clog to the inside of Kingsbury again, entering the oval. Porsche versus McLaren off the corner. Who's going to get the better bite? Clog looks like he's going to take the spot, clearing Kingsbury. Kingsbury, I know him. He's going to force that issue. Entering the final chicane sector here. Nearly contact. They do not! But Kingsbury slides it, and the 21 is around from the 4th spot.
And that just shows how much of a competitor Matt Kingsbury is. He was fighting. He did not want to give up an inch of ground there. Kept the car under, well, kind of kept the car under him. Didn't make any contact with either Clog or any other cars or the wall. But man, that just shows how tough and hard he is fighting out there just to try to finish on the podium here tonight.
When I ran Rallycross for my last season, he was one of the most aggressive, and I say that in a loving way. because he would drive you rough, but he would not make contact with you, and that is point proven, because he could have tried to overcorrect it and slam into Clog, but he didn't. He sacrificed his own race and kept Clog running.
Well, he is the only driver in NASA GT racing to have ever gotten a season suspension.
I forgot about that. Ignore me.
Yeah, he's definitely very aggressive in these as well. He's trying to change that reputation. You saw it with that move. They're able to keep it clean and able to just hang on to the 4th spot for now. Under a little bit of pressure from his brother, Ray. We'll have to see, as they're running out of time, Ray is to make up a 2-second gap.
David Bush, that's 20 points. So that was not, he's up 9, but then
1.
down 4.
4.
So
Better
up
now.
5. Net gain of 5. Or net loss of 2. My numbers are hard. For all the non-accounting people,
Guys, my abacus is over here smoking just a little bit. I mean, we're under 30 seconds to go. We're going to be wrapping this race up very soon.
he's going to run another lap. He doesn't have enough time to let Janny through, to not let Janny through. So we're going to take the white flag here, boys and girls, in Homestead, Miami. Christian Challenger, 1 minute 20.849 to add insult to injury. His fastest lap was his previous lap than that, 1 minute 20.829. So granted, he basically ran the same lap. So pouring salt into the wound is Christian Challenger on Michael Janny here. Wow. As Christian Challenger down the back straightaway in the Audi car number 7, the Briton, who has 13 wins in this series, continues his streak of being the winningest driver under the lights in Homestead, Miami. Started 8th in the feature, made it through the calamity and off of the final corner. Challenger puts one hand on the trophy as he wins in Homestead, Miami, flashing the lights in the Audi. He will finish 8.6 seconds ahead of his championship rival, Michael Janny. Janny tried so hard to take the fight to him, but ran it wide in the infield. The official gap, 8.5. Finishing third, Clog. Fourth will be Matt Kingsbury after battling with Clog. So there's going to be two fiercely forward Spark cars on the podium. And Matt Kingsbury, 2 weeks in a row, winning the AM class. His brother comes home 5th. If we look, Fanning and Forrest, those positions have not moved. Schofield comes home in 6th in the Lamborghini. And Kevin Fanning is going to close up the championship battle in the AM category, entering the final race in Sonoma. He will come home in 7th. Coming home at 8th will be Kieran Forrest, Steve Lane, 9th, and 10th, David Bush, the 3rd. After what could have been for the Lamborghini, but like we've mentioned before, sim racing has its own version of mechanical failure, and I'd like to think, unfortunately, that him going straight on had to have been a wheel. It could have been a game freeze or a wheel freeze. I've had both those happen.
And By the way, we talked about going to Sonoma next week. Last time that this series was there, it put on an incredible show.
Oh yeah, we don't talk
and
about that.
especially a battle between the two brothers, Matt and Ray,
We don't
for
talk
the
about
win in the last couple of laps. And of
We don't
course,
talk about that race.
Josh Mertz wrecking a lot.
As Victor Vallee, I don't know if he's muted or not, but he made us shut up. So I don't know.
Victor is being Victor and doing Victor things. Absolutely losing his mind tonight.
Yes, I am, and I do apologize because I was talking earlier about the points gap. And I had my mic muted the entire time, and that points gap for the AM is 3 points. That's it. I know that Josh and Chad heard me, but I know you guys at home did not. So 3 points for the AM, pending any penalties for any of the drivers from tonight. So Fanning, 3 points out of the points lead going into the final race. It'll be interesting to see what happens there. And we were looking at Ray Kingsbury there. I was trying to figure out why he was back on the front straightaway so quickly after taking the checkered flag. He definitely did cut the oval, and I was a little bit confused on why he did that. He almost ran into somebody else finishing the race. I think it was David Bush. And I was like, what in the world's going on there?
We're going to bring in our top 2 and our AM class winner. I will start and have a conversation with Matt Kingsbury. 2 weeks in a row, 2 different cars, 2 wins in the AM class, but you put on a hell of a show trying to get that podium finish. How was your race, Matt? Talk me through it.
It was pretty good. The car was really fast. We're trying out a new car here. I figure we had nothing to lose. And the Porsche drives really, really, really nice. We had an incident earlier in the race. I'm not really sure what happened there. Other than that, it was pretty smooth.
As I noticed in the final infield section, and I kind of commented on it, it's banked very slightly on the straightaway, but that transition is almost like a roller coaster where you go up and down. Car gets very light. I was just wanting to hear your opinion of the transitions and how difficult those were tonight.
The Porsche took damage from the transitions, so they were pretty hard.
And I guess one other thing, I want to hear your opinion as we look on screen with Brian Sohn. How was that first lap of the feature with everyone crashing around you? And then how hard were you driving to not crash into clog?
On the sprint race, you mean, or?
I think the feature had like 5 cars crash on the first lap.
Oh yeah, I got into Marwan. I think going into the transition there. In my opinion, I don't know where he wants me to go. I was on the curb when we made contact, so if you're not going to give me room, you're going to get dumped. There's really no way for me to avoid that. So I'm not really sure where I was supposed to go, but yeah, I was kind of worried about that, and I wanted to get my move done early to get to the front. I felt like that was my best chance to get a podium, so that's what I did. And had there not been contact, maybe we would have got the podium because they would have had more cars to pass. But all in all, a good race. I felt like me and Josh were right there at the end.
And I know I don't think you have really any sponsors to thank, but is there anybody you'd like to thank, friends, family, anyone for the result tonight?
Actually, we do have a sponsor for this race, virtualracing.network. It's a broadcaster for iRacing on YouTube. You can check out their streams. I do a little work over there too. But yeah, just them, and that's it.
Alrighty, my friend. 2 wins in a row with 2 different cars. Try and get that hat trick next week in Sonoma. Good run. As one of you fine gentlemen could have a chat with Christian Challoner, our overall race winner and points leader going into Sonoma.
Christian, it's been a fun week of practice for you. We know we were talking about that transition onto the oval. How'd the car handle tonight?
Surprisingly well, I have to say. Really don't know where the pace came from. Honestly, no clue at all. When I kind of first loaded into the session, I sort of had an idea as to how I kind of needed to be set up. I sort of found out that was kind of not going to work pretty quickly, and I changed direction. And the direction I picked was basically to really try and trim the car out a ton. And I was a bit concerned because, I mean, this car is not my favorite at the best of times, and it's definitely not my favorite when you're trying to run it in low downforce trim. So I was worried it was going to be really, really evil, but actually, it's so strange. I think finally I've kind of just learned to live with that with the Audi, and it's taken months to get to that point. But I was driving it tonight, and I kind of mentioned it as well back at Detroit. There was a bit in the race where I was like not conscious of the fact that I was in a car that for the longest time I've been basically frightened of. And yeah, here tonight it was pretty much the same thing. I had it in some pretty wild moments quite often, and I never felt like it was actually going to kill me. So that was really cool. And I think that must have really kind of been where the pace came from, just trimming the car out. I figure everybody else was fairly well trimmed out though, because I couldn't really pass anyone. I honestly got really, really lucky with people making mistakes. I don't think I made a legit pass the whole race. I kind of pressured Josh into a little bit of an error, and then I got exceptionally lucky with with Michael, because I saw that he was in the lead, and I thought it was going to be really difficult. And immediately at the next corner, he went wide, and it was just enough time for me to be able to kind of sneak through.
Yeah, one thing that we were talking about on the broadcast, so we were kind of curious, maybe you could give us a little more insight on. The entry from the infield onto the banking is very abrupt, but we still see guys going all the way out to the wall pretty quickly. Is there an advantage to doing that versus kind of keeping it down low and kind of holding it on that flat part of the racetrack to get a more gradual transition?
I think the more gradual transition is better in case you're worried about damaging the car. I kind of went with the attitude that basically at some point everybody was going to hammer over the transition. So if there was damage concern, everybody was eventually going to get to the point where they were equally damaged anyway. So I kind of just completely tanked it. I mean, I was hitting it nose on sometimes, and uh, I was okay. I hit that stupid tire stack though once in the race, and about 15,000 times in practice. That was probably the hardest thing to avoid, and I think that is actually what made the transition a lot more abrupt than it really needs to be. Is that tire stack that's on the inside of that corner? Because if you could cut over that curb, you would be able to get a much nicer run on. You wouldn't come on at such a steep angle. So you kind of had to be aggressive there though, because if you weren't, you would obviously carry not much speed onto the straight. So you pretty much had to try and do it.
And we noticed on the right side of your car there were a couple of scrapes there, kind of just in front of the right rear tire. Were you in contact at some point during the feature?
Yeah, I was. I went to the inside of Josh just after the start line, and I was kind of on his inside coming through one, and um, for the entire race, I was like mentally convinced that I must have moved across on him. So I messaged him immediately after the finish. I was like, I was really sorry if like I moved over, because I didn't feel like I had at the time, but afterwards I was like, I must have moved across, and I went back and looked, and I think he just clipped the grass being side by side, and we actually both got really, really lucky because it turned him into my right rear, and that could have basically been the end for both of us. But he was able to continue, I was able to continue, and it didn't really hurt either car, I don't think.
Well, hey, it was a fantastic race. One more race to go for you to try to get your second consecutive championship here. Who do you have to thank?
I'd just like to give a shout out to you guys for doing the broadcast, everybody involved in the league. It's been, as always, a lot of fun. I still really, really like the format. I know there's some discussions about what cars it's going to be next season and whatnot, and actually kind of an interesting one right now where I'm saying that kind of before I joined iRacing, I was actually a big fan of GTE, and now kind of moved to being a GT3 fan. But honestly, either or, I think it'd be kind of fun for next season. I'm cool either way. I like GT3 because it lets me keep an eye on BOP considerations and whatnot, and obviously having drivers like Michael, who are really, really high level drivers, and I think me and Michael are very, very evenly matched on pace. So it's actually kind of great for me because I get a really good idea of BOP when I'm racing against him.
Well, hey, congratulations on yet another victory, and we'll look to see you in victory lane and taking the championship as well next week at Sonoma. Best of luck to you.
Thank you.
That's Christian Chandler, winner of tonight's race here at Homestead. I got one final interview for you tonight. It's going to be Michael, Jenny, Josh, or Victor. Take it away.
I'm going to see if Victor wants to take this one. Otherwise, I can. We'll give him a minute.
I think he's taking a nap.
He probably is taking a nap. I know his computer wants to explode. So, Michael Janney. Victor's muted. I don't think he's going to do this. Michael Janney, you had the points lead, and I really just hate starting with bad news, but I mean, what happened down in the infield made you run wide and lose the lead?
Yeah, I mean, less than ideal. I think mainly this week I struggled a lot trying to find consistent markers for this track because there's not really a lot other than, maybe marks on the surface or changes in the fence line. And just looked in my mirrors, looked back up, was like, oh, that's the breaking point. And yeah, just ran wide. And I didn't want to, jeopardize finishing second or third, gassing it off on grass in a McLaren. So, I mean, either way, though, Christian really figured out the car today, I think. And he had so much more pace than me. I think the average was 0.3 a lap on me. And I really just didn't have an answer for him tonight. Struggled pretty much the entire track, the entire race, um, just to keep like consistent pace with like Matt or Josh, and yeah, it was. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I really didn't like that track, and it sucked in the McLaren, and we could really notice it through the chicanes because the Porsche and the Audi seemed to gain a ton on us through those exits.
I mean, you just answered my second question, which was, do you like this track? So I guess my final question for you is going to be, how was battling Matt? I mean, you guys were ebbing and flowing, and then he got ever so close, and then spun. And how was that for your point of view?
Well, wait, are you confusing me with Josh?
No. Well, am I? Maybe I
I
am.
think
Words
because
are
I know,
hard.
I know.
I
Okay,
am.
all
Words
right.
are hard. I should just quit this. You know, it's been a long day.
I was like, you know what? I did fight with Matt for a bit, but then you said he crashed, and
I
I'm like,
couldn't remember.
I don't
Words
remember
are
that.
hard.
I'll
Well,
have to go look at that then. I didn't even really.
well,
I guess.
I guess instead of me being dumb and embarrassing myself, how was the first lap? Because I know obviously you inverted in seventh, I think. So everyone spun and crashed and everything on the first lap. So, how was that from your point of view?
Um, it was almost like bowling pins. I'll be honest, because from where I was coming down the hill, I saw one guy spin, and then it was like collection, and so I just kind of slowed down and was like, all right, yeah, let's hope no one comes back in front of me and take it slow and go through it. But it definitely made things a lot easier because I found that it was really difficult for us to gain any sort of advantage on the car ahead, even if we had pace on him in the clean air. It just seemed to disappear in the draft, and yeah, it was lucky I got through that. Sucks for the guys that got collected. Um, I kind of figured if there was going to be a spot tonight where there was going to be trouble, it was going to be there, because that is one interesting corner. Is how I describe it. I don't know if it's a good corner, bad corner. It's just unique.
And anyone you'd like to thank for tonight's result?
Yeah, my family's watching Fiercely Forward and Spark LLM, all the stuff that we do to prep for it, and you know, to you guys too for doing the broadcast, and yeah, also to my cat Bandit, because my brother wanted me to do that for some reason, but yeah, I guess thanks for having me in here. I appreciate it.
I have to ask, did you name your cat Bandit after The Office?
No, no. Actually, funny story to wrap it up here. Cat's name was supposed to be Timothy, and then the first night that we got him as a kitten, he kept my parents up all night. And then they looked at his eyes, and he had like kind of like black, like a mask over his eyes. So like, nope, his name's got to be Bandit.
What a story. Well, Michael Janney, great run today, and good luck for next week in Sonoma.
Thank you very much. Have a good night, guys.
Thank you, sir. We're going to get a final thought from Twitch land before we wrap this thing up. Charley.
Thanks, guys. awesome race once again. Chat was a little subdued tonight, but we were all watching the action and having a good time. Just want to say, first of all, shout out to Bandit. I think we can all agree on that one. And then also just a little behind the curtains thing for the audience. You guys might not be aware, but during most broadcasts, Victor Vallee is in the commentator's ear, giving them stats, making sure they're not missing anything. Constantly talking. So when he switches gears and has his mic on, it's got to be a complete 180 for all of them, because you're used to the audience not being able to hear Victor Vallee, and then when they suddenly can, you have to remember that they can, and the urge to repeat what he says must be driving. So just a big shout out to the broadcast team for putting on an awesome show. It's been awesome. I know this is the second to last week, but it's been awesome working with you guys this last couple months, and I hope we can keep it going.
Yeah, I usually
certainly
just
hope
tune
so as
Victor
well.
out.
Yeah, you tune him out. Chad, give me your final thought.
Man, it was a fantastic race. We've got one more week of the season. The AM Championship is just going to be an incredible fight at Sonoma. Last time this series was there all the way back in season 1. It put on a spectacular show for everybody not named Josh Mertz. And
Exactly.
yeah, I mean, I just can't wait to see what the guys pull out there next week. Thanks for having me in the booth tonight. I kind of forgot I volunteered to do this. Nobody reminded me, so jumped in here. We had some fun, had some laughs, and overall, we had a great time watching Challoner work his way through the fields to victory. Can't wait to see what we have in store next week for the final race of the season.
As a couple programming notes for Nitro Circus Twitch, powered by the Automotive Sports Network. On Wednesday this week, the Sim Racer Coin NASA Rallycross Challenge, presented by Nitro Circus, will go to the Phoenix International Raceway in Avondale, Arizona for iDrive Sim Training presents the Battle of Phoenix. You'll join myself and Cody Erdman, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And then the Penguin RC Simulation NASA Sports Car Challenge, presented by Nitro Circus, will wrap up the 2021B season, the third season of this championship, with the championship night at the Sonoma Raceway in Sonoma, California. So certainly going to be a great race. I've been joking in the production truck, we should race it at night with no lights and only have the lights from the cars, but we will see what will happen there. From all of us here at Nitro Circus Twitch and the Automotive Sports Network, along with NASA Sim Racing, from Charley Daniels, Chad Irvine, Victor Vallee, Mike Berry, who was not here, who had prior commitments and I forgot about, Cody Erdman, and the entire staff of North American Simulated Auto Racing, I am Josh Mertz, and we will hope to see you either Wednesday or Monday. But until then, so long, everyone.